everyone, and welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons. Today I'm very excited to share with you a technique that's going to allow you to descend through the various positions of the pentatonic scale that I shared with you earlier this week in our lesson, Fretboard Freedom, Finding Pentatonics Across the Neck. Once you have all 5 positions of your pentatonic scale memorized and put to muscle memory, it's techniques like this that will help you to connect the dots and transition from position to position with more fluidity, and hopefully give you a lot more confidence as you approach your guitar soloing. Let's get started. Okay, getting started with this descend in line that takes us through various patterns of our pentatonic scale. This is going to go along with the video I posted earlier in the week called Fretboard Freedom, Finding the Pentatonic Scale Across the Guitar Neck. I'll put that in the description. To get started, we're going to be way up here in what we call the high octave. This is the most common form of the pentatonic scale. We're just going to be using a chunk of that scale. It's going to sound like this. Keeping it very basic for now, we'll get into the cascading effect with the hammers and the pull-offs. All that business in just a bit. But for right now, we're just playing 15-12 on the high E, 15-12 on the B, 14-12 on the G, before moving on to the next pattern. Okay, now that we've completed the high octave notes, we're going to go from here into what we call the G territory. This is going to be the version of the pentatonic scale that surrounds our G major shape of the chord E. Okay, so coming from our high octave, we're going to go from that 12th fret G string down to the 9th fret, usually sliding once we get the full effect. Then we're going to have the 12th fret D and the 9th fret D. So far we have now. Now we're ready to move into the A position. Okay, moving into the A position of E major or E minor. We have a box here that surrounds that chord. So far we had. Now we're going to go to the 7th fret D string, 10th fret A string, and the 7th fret of the A string. Add that into what we had before. And we're ready to move into the C position. Okay, so once again, we're utilizing the various patterns of the E pentatonic scale that surround our different chord versions of the E chord. In this particular case, we're going to be using the C version of E major or E minor. Here we're going to be utilizing the notes 5 on the A, that's a D note, this B note here on the 7th fret of the E string, and this A note here on the 5th fret. So that was 5th fret A, 7th fret E, 5th fret E. Putting that into what we had so far. And now we're ready to go into the D position. Okay, so for the next part, we're just going to be using one note of our D position of the E pentatonic scale. In that 3rd fret of the low E string, and then the open E string. Combining that with what we had so far, we'll have the entire descending line. And that's exactly how you want to practice it, real straight with alternate picking. Comfortable with it, maybe even try jamming along to some backing tracks with it nice and straight, then try playing little phrases in each of those little boxes. Okay, now that you've memorized the series of notes and you know the names for each of the different positions, the E position of the high octave, the G position, the A position, the C position, and the D position. We're ready to start adding a little bit of flair to it by putting some patterns into each of the different shapes. Okay, so to get started with this phase of our lesson today, we're going to be using a technique that we call deflection. This is when we repeat a previously stated note, like this. We're going to be putting that sound, applying it to each of the various positions throughout this technique. So all we're doing is playing through the scale, playing 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, and then going back 1, and beginning from this note forward. So if we're doing that, we'd have 15, 12, 15 on the B, then turn back 1. Now this is going to be where we continue from. 15, 12. So far we have. From here we're going to play 15, 12, 14 on the G, 12 on the B string, and then 14, 12 on the G. To finish up our deflection technique in our high octave. Okay, this next part is going to take us from the high octave into the G position and then drop us off into the A position. So far we had. Now we're moving on to. So on the G string, we're going to be traveling 14, 12 to 9. Alright, that was 3 notes, so we go 1, 2, 3, 1. Now we're on to the 12th fret G, 9th fret G, 12th fret D. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That means we need to go back 1, 1, that's the 9th fret of the G string, 12th fret of the D, 9th fret of the D. Then we need to go to the 7th fret of the D string, which officially drops us off into our A position of the chord E minor. Okay, moving into our A minor position of the chord E. Here we're going to be playing. Alright, so that was the D string, 9th fret, to the 7th fret, then pinky up to the A string, 10th fret. Since that was 3, we need to go back now 1 previously stated note. That's the 7th fret of the D string. Alright, going from there, that's 1, 2, 3. Now that was the 10th fret A and the 7th fret of the A string. Now the phrase that's going to take us into the C position. Okay, so that was 10, 7, then 5 on the A, 7th fret of the A string, 5th fret of the A string, and then there we are on the 7th fret of the E string. Alright, putting out everything that we had together so far. All we're going to do is go for our last phrase. Okay, so this last phrase is going to sound like this one more time. Alright, so that was 5 on the A, 7 on the E, 5 on the E, back 1. Alright, so that was the 7th fret E string, 5th fret, 3rd fret, open to complete the sequence. Okay, quickly reviewing each position, we had the high octave, going into the G position, going into the A position, going from the A to the C position, to the D position, and the low root, finishing up the sequence. Now that you have that down, try doing pull-offs instead of picking every single note, although it's great for your picking exercise. Whenever possible, a pull-off. Or a slide. A little bend at the end sounds nice. Low root to high root. Okay, and one last step for the more advanced players who have completed memorizing each of the different positions and also have mastered the deflection technique. You may also want to try stacking each of these positions in fourths. This is a great technique that'll add a lot to your playing and take away some of the predictability in your phrasing. So this would sound like this. Okay, so if you're gonna go through that, you're basically just going 15-15, 12-12, 15-14, 12-12, kind of going wall to wall. Then 14-9, then 12-12 on G and D. That was 9 and 9 on G and D. 12th fret of the D string, 7th fret. Then right there on the 9th fret of the D string. So far we have. There's where I'll take it to the 10th fret of the A string. The 7th fret of the D string. Then I'm on to the 7th fret of the A string. Back to that 10th fret of the A string. 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret, 7th fret, that was A to E string, 5 and 5 on the A and E, back to the 7th fret of the E string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, open E string, finishes up the same exact sequence but stacking our fourths. Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this lesson on pentatonic soloing. I hope that you enjoyed it. I got plenty more videos coming up, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, and please support at patreon.com/swiftlessons. As always, this is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia saying happy picking.